on TSN 1050.
All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, up on TSN 4, up on YouTube Live. Brian Hayes and Jonas Siegel in here. A beautiful day in Toronto.
So that was Skinnerd coming in?
Yes.
They're coming to Toronto? And I was like, I wonder what that would be like to go see them play. And like I looked up their ages, and it's like, Like, did you ever see the Stones?
I have seen them a couple of times. And it's a depressing watch, and that was over 20 years ago.
Okay.
Like, I was at Sarstock. I saw them up at Downsview when AC/DC played before them and completely stole the whole show. And then I think the Stones knew it, so they made everyone wait like an hour and a half before they
Just
came
to
out.
lower the intensity?
Yeah, basically, because like AC/DC came out and were unbelievable. And the whole place was going nuts. And then I swear someone went to the Stones and say, you better wait like at least 90 minutes because no one wants to hear Start Me Up right now. Like if they came out like Start Me Up, people are like, we want more AC/DC. Like immediately a chant for an encore from AC/DC. So I have seen the Stones in Toronto. I saw them in Halifax at one point. And again, that was 20 years ago, and it was rough. You know, I've said many times on the show, I don't think Keith Richards has had his guitar plugged in since like the 90s.
So he's just like
I think
air
he's just
guitar?
out there messing around. Like half the time he's not paying attention. He's looking at the wall. I don't think he has a clue what's going on. Mick is still trying to do his thing, which I feel like I appreciate at his age that he feels, you know, you still got to be a showman. They're still charging Rolling Stone prices. If you're going to see them play, you're not getting in there for $20, right? It's not being played downtown at some like bar where if you line up first you get in for $10. You're paying a premium to go see them. So he's trying, but it's just not, I'm sure, what it used to be.
Well, I think he's 83.
Yeah.
I just read an interview with him, and he mentioned like he would just keep tour. I don't think they're going to tour anymore.
Well,
they've been
saying that since the 80s, though.
But he's like, yeah, I'd love to keep touring. And
yeah.
It's like, anyway, like I was just thinking with Skinner, like when it gets like, I want to watch this band like way past their prime.
And many of them have passed away, have they not?
Yeah, the drummer, I believe.
They had the plane accident, the plane crash.
That's a long time ago, right?
In the 70s, I believe that was, early 80s.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how many of the originals are still there. I love Lynyrd Skynyrd. My understanding is they're an amazing live band.
Well, if you look,
but that's from testimonials from the 70s when people saw them.
And it's
play.
Like all replacements, according to the research.
So it's a cover
that
band.
I did.
Like it's a cover band.
Yeah, a lot
that's
of them
it. Like
seem
how
to
do
die.
How do you kind of get away with that? You know, if it's because I actually, it's funny you mentioned that. I saw a clip of Sublime, the band Sublime.
Love Sublime.
Sublime's a great band.
Actually, I know 2 songs.
You only know 2. I'll bet you know more than that.
Santeria, and what's the second one that's really good?
But What I Got is
What I Got.
That's one of their big hits.
Bangers.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I guarantee you would know a lot more than that.
Okay.
You'd know a lot more than that. But I saw a clip on them, and their lead singer, Pat, he died of a heroin overdose before their first album even came out.
Oh, wow.
So they had recorded it. It was about to be released. He was in San Francisco. But they're still touring, and he had a son who I believe is now in his 20s who might have joined the band, which you see that sometimes with, like, John Bonham's kid is joined Zeppelin on the drums. I want to say Eddie Van Halen's son has maybe done some stuff with them, although both Van Halen brothers have passed away. But, like, at what point does it become like
a carnival kind of?
Well, it's like you're promoting that you're going to see the band, but it's not the band.
Yeah,
you know, like they have the label of the band, but it's effectively a cover band. And is that what you're going to see? Lynyrd Skynyrd, basically a cover band.
Yeah. So I don't think I'm.
So you're not going to go.
No.
Answer the question.
I thought about it. I was like,
where are they playing?
I think it's amphitheater. Yeah, right by the water.
Like that's significant. That's a big spot.
Well, and the tickets, it was like some 2 for $55. I was like, huh. I wouldn't mind seeing Freebird.
That's not a great sign when you get the 2 for.
Well, they're not the Rolling Stones, but it's like, would I want to hear Freebird? Yeah, maybe.
That'd be great. Oh, they've got some great songs. Like Leonard Skinner has got a great catalog, and JP saying Foreigner is actually opening for them, which that's a great double bill. Like that's a really good.
Get tickets.
I didn't know they were coming through town. I haven't been to the amphitheater this year. We're going to see Ed Sheeran in a few weeks, which is big 'cause we're bringing the kids for the first time, their first concert. So we've been listening to Ed Sheeran a lot, which is great. I like Ed Sheeran. And that's at the Dome, though, which I don't love the first concert experience at the Rogers Center because it just is not, like the acoustics are not the same. Mm-hmm. It's more of that's like a festival type vibe when you go to the Rogers Center to see anyone play live.
What was your first concert? Do you remember?
I don't. Probably Tragically Hip in the 90s somewhere. Like I think it was probably something like that. I don't really remember.
I don't remember either.
Like I went to see some bands play, like in clubs and bars and stuff like that. I remember seeing the Hip play. I want to say it was at the Docks. I think it was one of those exclusive events. This would have been probably late 90s, early 2000s. That was really cool. I've seen them play live a bunch of times. That's probably my most cherished concert that I went to see them play Scotiabank before Gord Downey passed away. Like when he was doing that last tour, it was incredible. We went for the first night at Scotiabank. It was amazing. That was 10 years ago now. Wow. Crazy. That was 2016. So, anyway, go see Leonard Skinner. Come on. 2 for $55. You can't beat that. In this economy.
Yeah, but I got to get someone to want to actually go.
I know. That's the problem. Are you asking me to go with you? I'll think about it, Jonas. I might be up for that.
That's pretty good, right?
I might be up for that. I'd like to go see Leonard Skinner. My dad has said my whole life, greatest band he's ever seen live.
Really?
Yes, and he has seen everybody live many times.
Your dad
I think
knows
he
good
said
music
that.
too,
Yeah,
right?
he said he's seen Springsteen like 10 times, something like that. He said I think
I'm going to go.
He loves Leonard Skinner.
We went to see, do you know J. Cole?
Yes, I'm familiar with Jake Cole. He played basketball in Scarborough. He's what was it, Shooting Stars alumni or whatever.
We saw him this week, and it was like unbelievable.
Yeah? Okay.
Because the fans were so into it. You know when you go to a band and like a hip show would be the same, where everybody knows every single song and can sing along to every single song, and it's just like this whole vibe.
Yeah, therapeutic. It's great.
Yeah. Anyway.
Although that's like tough to follow. Like hip hop is tough for everyone to sing to,
especially his songs because it's like really deep raps. Like
so
long.
I want to see video of you, Jonas, keeping up with him while he's rapping about God knows what he's rapping about. I need video of that. Wherever that was played, I will pay big money to see that video. Well, listen, it's a great time of year. There's a lot going on, right, in the city anyway. Not necessarily for sports. I'm surprised you weren't in Chicago covering Gavin McKenna stepping on the ice for the first time in his Maple Leaf gear and doing the whole media tour.
I'll wait for training camp for that. That's gonna like there are just so many stories I'm gonna be tracking at camp. There's like a million new players.
McKenna's got to be number one.
He is, but Matthews is number one too, isn't he? Like coming off an injury, all the situations of the summer.
Do you think so? What's your first question? You have an exclusive with Austin Matthews. He's willing to give. He's willing, truth serum, and he's like, I will give you anything. What is your first question to him?
I think I would ask about his happiness here and his desire to be here because remember the last time we heard from him, I'm not sure. It was very open-ended, very vague. He was asked like a lot of questions about his future in Toronto, and he kind of just said like, we'll see. And now we've had this whole off season where there's all this stuff has happened. Like when he spoke, there was no general manager. Mm-hmm. There was no, Craig Berube was still a coach. They've changed coaches, obviously. Like they've changed everything. Half the roster is different. So I'd like to know where he stands because obviously he's got a couple years left on his deal. But really, it's kind of like 1 year because like if things don't go well next summer becomes fascinating.
Well, yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like this time next year, we could be on extension watch.
It's either extension or trade, probably, no?
Seems like it's probably going to be the case. Hey, there he is with Freddie Anderson and Mitch Marner. I guess Freddie got married. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty big couple of months for Freddie. Gets married, wins the Stanley Cup. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I saw Mitch posting that stuff. Mitch is having a great summer. Austin looks pretty healthy. Freddie looks like he's having a good time. Got to like that.
Yeah.
Right? And, yeah, I guess I think you're probably right. I mean,
You're right. Like, McKenna's the number 1 overall pick, but Matthews is the best player on the team, most important player on the team. This whole everything that they've done this summer is built around him. Like, it's built around, we're going to try to give it one more go for the next year or two and see what happens.
Yeah, and McKenna was actually saying that he was asked about the situation he's walking into and how it's unique from other recent first overall picks.
It's completely unique. Yeah.
Where, when Celebrini showed up or Bedard showed up, those teams were the worst teams in the league by a long shot. Like, they were awful and knew they weren't going to the playoffs. Now he's walking into a situation where they've, he referenced that John Chaika has been very active. They spent a lot of money. They've turned over a lot of pieces. Like, yeah, I mean, he's expected to, he's going to step in with high expectations from a team standpoint, which is a very different experience for a lot of first overall picks, but somewhat similar to what Matthews walked into. Like, when he walked in, they didn't have the same history.
It's different.
It's different, but the expectation was, now they were the worst team in the league the year before.
Correct.
But Marner was coming, Nylander was coming, which is different than what McKenna's dealing with too. He's not walking in with guys around him that are going to take some of the shine off him. He's going to be on his own in terms of like the young, new, shiny toy. But they immediately proved, like pretty early into that season, that they had enough to be a playoff team with a guy like Freddie Anderson, Babcock, Bozak was still there, JVR,
Riley,
etc. Riley and Gardner.
That felt, though, Hayes, like the difference is that felt like the start of something, and it was the start of something. This feels like they're trying to hang on to something, and he's like the new young piece joining like an older team that's trying to give it like one last go. And then if it doesn't work, like he's the future. He's the future regardless. But the pressure is interesting because, like, usually, like you mentioned, Celebrini, Bedard, those guys come onto teams and they just play all the time because their teams are bad. They're first-line centers, first-line wing. And I'm going to be interested to see, like, how they use McKenna, like how much he plays. Does he play with Matthews? Does he play with Tavares? Like, how does this lineup work? Like, he's going to be so fascinating. Like, it's actually going to be an interesting camp because last year camp was more interesting by who wasn't there. And it was, like, a very weird vibe. And, like, now it's everybody's new. Like, everybody, aside from, like, a couple handfuls of players.
And there's a new lease on life because a new coach, right? A new GM. Like that'd be an interesting ranking of who you would want to talk to first, because like Matthews, I think you're right. Unfortunately, it's the first question or the first couple of questions are about the past, and then not just this year and how you're going to play, but the overall viewpoint of the future. What I think is refreshing about McKenna is it's just about what you're going to do on the ice. Like, I think, and I get the impression, and I understand why, the fan base in Toronto, Maple Leaf fans, they just kind of want to talk about the games. Like, they want to get to a point where you're just talking about hockey, because last year was more about who left, like you said, what's going to happen in the future. And not that those aren't important storylines that need to be covered. Of course they do. And they do when it comes to Matthews, for sure. But with McKenna, it's all positive. It's all about hockey. I think even with Jim Hiller, the same thing. You're talking to the coach. It's not what's your plan 2 or 3 years from now. He's thinking about training camp and the first game against Montreal, and then the second game, then the third game, and that's going to have to happen. Like, that's going to be a sign of how well the season's going. And I guess that's always been the case, probably with every team. And I think you could apply it to the Blue Jays, and we'll get to them in a moment. When your team is winning, you're in the moment, and the next game is all that matters. When your team is losing, that's when the doors open to macro conversations and bigger picture stuff. And I think the same thing would apply to a guy like Matthews, where if they get off to a hot start, 8-2 out of the gate, he's healthy, everyone's playing great. No one's going to talk about his contract or what his plan is in the future. It'll be all right. They've proven they made the right moves. They're back on the bus. Hiller's, pushing the right buttons. Bob looks healthy and motivated. Maybe they can be a playoff team. This is great. They start 3-7, and the door opens to they made the wrong moves. Matthews can't be happy. Is he going to Quinn Hughes this scenario? I mean,
there's a lot of pressure on them to start the year well, as there is like for every team, but especially in this case.
Big time for the Leafs.
Yeah.
Like big time, more so than any other team I can think of in a long time.
Well, and you mentioned like who I want to talk to. I'm not sure McKenna would even be number 2. Who's another guy like Riley, number 2, probably, maybe number 1. Like,
if he's still here,
it's
awkward. If he's there,
Nyes, if he's still here, like this whole off season, like he's going to get traded. Is he going to get? And it's like, clearly there's something there, and there has been something there for years. Like, they have always bandied around the idea of trading him for fair reasons. But it's like, now he's back, and like Chris Tanev's coming off a season that he barely played. Like, what's his health? Like, you mentioned Matthews. We didn't even talk about like how healthy is he? Like, what does he look like coming off knee surgery?
Yeah,
like,
we don't know.
Never seen that before. And like, he didn't look like himself physically at times the last 2 years for the most part. What does it look like now? Like, it's going to be a fascinating camp. Like, camp last year was just blah.
Camp. And the Jays overshadowed the whole camp, too.
True.
They were red hot down the stretch. No one in Toronto cared about the Leafs showing up.
They were changing the times of games for the
exactly.
the Jays.
The
like,
Jays
it was like...
Yeah. Literally, like, we were doing our show, and we didn't talk about the Leafs. We barely talked about the Leafs because there wasn't much there. Like, the Marner stuff had been talked about to death for 2.5 months, and it was just kind of a routine camp where there were no jobs up for grabs for the most part. There was some discussion about Easton Cowan and how he looked and all that. But, for the most part, it was like, all right, we know the goalies, we know the deep pairings, we know kind of what's going to happen. Berube's going about his business. Like, there just wasn't a ton of intrigue there. Where this year, you're right, it is a remarkably compelling training camp. And a quicker one, less preseason games. They start on September 29th, I think. 2 extra games this year. But wins and losses are always going to determine the vibe around a team. And, case in point, what's going on with the Jays right now. And Kevin Gosman, he was on Mike Wilner's podcast recently. And, he was asked about, I guess, the difference between this year and last year. Do we have that clip? Why don't we play this? Because I'm not at all surprised at, the general description of this year's clubhouse based on last year's. But I don't think it's really that deep. Here's what Gosman said to Mike Wilner.
Just got to find a way to kind of get back to being the team that we know we can be. And I think that starts with like us as a core first, and then everything else that happens on the field is just an extension of that, but we're just not nearly as close as knit of a group as we were last year. And obviously winning helps that.
Yeah, no kidding. So that was the Deep Left Field podcast. And he went on to say Chris Bassett played a big role in that and missing him. Here's the thing. Gosman and Bassett are clearly very close. So he's also looking at Bassett in particular because Bassett's numbers, he's been injured and his numbers are bloated. He hasn't done anything in Baltimore. Like Baltimore, I don't think they're ecstatic.
I don't think he was saying Bassett. They should have brought him back. I'm saying like him leaving had a real impact on their clubhouse.
So, but isn't that the same thing?
Sorta. Like, I get what he's saying. Like, again, like, I hate to keep bringing it back to the Leafs, but remember, like, last year, it felt different. Like, Marner was, like, an engine of their dressing room, their personality. Ryan Reeves, like, was sort of that, too. And, like, those two guys were gone. And suddenly it was like who's kind of, like, steering that side of things?
Sure.
And I think that's what he's saying. Like, he mentioned, like, Bassett and the pitching staff. And, like, he was kind of the one who brought everyone together. And, like, I think he mentioned Miles Straw as well as someone who brought the veterans and the young guys together. And, like, obviously he's still here. But that vibe, I think, just changed. But you're right. Like, they talk about it. Like, winning.
When you're 10 games under 500, no one wants to be there early.
Yeah.
Or stay late. I mean, that's sports, man. You could have the greatest guys in the world. And that's obviously last year when they were humming through August and September, and the players kept coming out and saying it on the record. We kept talking to them. They're like, we couldn't wait to get to the park. Couldn't wait.
And you could see it
because you could win.
But you could always see it during, like, on the dugout, guys hanging out together, chatting. Like, and honestly, Bassett was always at the center of that. Scherzer was at the center of that. Like, he's not been healthy and around as much this year. Like, I can see what he means that the vibe is just different. But again, like, he mentioned the 12-game win streak. You win 12 games in a row, everyone's feeling great. But something has felt off the entire year, hasn't it? Or do you just think it's like chicken or the egg? Like, do you get that stuff because you win, or vice versa?
I think it's you get that stuff when you win. I can't imagine there's a winning clubhouse that isn't a fun place to be a part of. That doesn't mean there aren't some bad apples. That doesn't mean there aren't, like, kind of cliques within the clubhouse of, some separation. Not, like the.
But you're right. Like, a losing team never comes out and says, like, we're a really close knit team.
Like,
we love each other.
We were there every day. Even on off days, we got together. It's not conducive to having a good vibe when you're losing every day, especially in baseball, because it's every single day. There's no getting away from it. Like, they're playing 10, 11, 12 days in a row where they know they stink and no one's pulling their weight. And, the Bassett stuff, you're right in terms of what one guy can have the impact they can have on a room, clearly. But I think Gosman, he's got a different connection to Bassett than basically everyone else. They're both around the same age, both, young families. I'm sure they hung out a lot. They're both starting pitchers, like that's, I guess, what I'm getting at.
Well, and like he mentions it, like the performance of a lot of players has been poor. So those leaves, like it was just miserable, like
Always.
the entire year.
Yeah.
Because they were losing and players weren't playing well, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And
it's always the ingredient that determines the mood around a team. Any level, professional sports, amateur sports. If you're a kid, you're always losing. It's tough. It drags on you. And last year was magical. Everything came together. But a lot of the guys are still here. Yes, there's been turnover, clearly, but there's still a lot of guys who are still there. And, the manager is still there. Yeah, Don Mattingly's not there, but the rest of the staff.
He's having a tough time, too.
Mattingly now is having a bit of an issue in Philly with what's going on with Bryce Harper and the front office and all that. But, I appreciate Gosman speaking on it. And I it's obviously an accurate assessment. It's his assessment. He's living it. It's a firsthand assessment of what's going on there. But for me, whenever I hear this from any player with any team in any league, you start with the win-loss record. Like, let me go here first. Oh, they're 10 games under 500? Circle. Like, there's the problem right there. That's the general issue. Because jobs are on the line, too, right? Like, they're funny. Like, I was talking to O about this today, and I was coming up at 5. When was the last time the Jays had, like, a fun game? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like a game, 8-7 back and forth. They were down 7-4 in the 8th. They tacked on runs. They went to extra innings. They found a way to win it. I can't recall the last time I watched them. Like, there just hasn't been a lot of examples of that this year. We're like, man, that was a fun game that they just played.
Well, they're scoring like 1-2 runs every game.
That's part of the problem, clearly, is that they don't score a lot of runs. But when they get down in games, because they can't generate any offense, they're not coming back.
Yeah.
And that's the sign of generally an entertaining team, that they're never out of it. This Blue Jay team is always out of it. And when that is your reality, it's going to have an effect on the whole mood and the whole vibe around the team. The O-Dog coming up just after 5. Brandon Beane will join us, the GM of the Buffalo Bills, in just over an hour as well. Camps are open, and get his take on the new stadium, on the new coach, DJ Moore, the new weapon for Josh Allen. That more coming up in an hour. We got Richard Griffin up on the Jays. Jays off today, back in action with St. Louis in town this weekend, then off to Houston on Monday. Trade deadline on Monday, so we'll get into a number of things with Griff. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and up on YouTube Live.
Instacart Tempo Basketball on TSN.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
I don't practice Santeria. I ain't got no crystal ball.
All right, Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you more ways to play your game your way. Got a LeBron James update on some of the behind-the-scenes plans for, I guess, the next couple of years, possibly in Philly, where he and ESPN are working on, I guess, a documentary that is basically The Last Dance, but LeBron and his reps are trying to get out in front of this, saying it's not The Last Dance. It's not The Last Dance, because then we'd be just blatantly ripping off Michael Jordan, and we don't want to do that. I saw Maverick Carter tweet out saying, it's not The Last Dance because we don't know if it's LeBron's last season. And LeBron retweeted that, which is nice of him to do that. But it kind of sounds like The Last Dance, but only for LeBron, which makes it so LeBron-like. That the Last Dance was not about Jordan necessarily. It was about his relationship with the GM in Chicago, and it was about Phil Jackson's Last Dance with Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, like this whole team that had won 5 championships already. Not The Last Dance at a new place. Right? I mean, this is LeBron in a nutshell.
Saying,
that
yeah.
this isn't the last. It's not the last dance of a team. It's LeBron's final chapter, which I think will be very compelling. I'm not saying that there can't be great content coming out of that, but it's kind of trying to be like Jordan, but not in the same context. Because Jordan was chasing a championship. I'm not sure what LeBron reasonably expects when he gets to Philly.
Well, and I think people talked about The Last Dance. When they talk about this, they're talking about the doc, right? And that came out like 25 years after.
And no one knew that they had all the access to all that kind of stuff.
So this is not, like, it's not going to be the same.
Yeah, he's promoting that, hey, the cameras are going to be there.
It's like we need to wait 20 years to watch this for it to actually resonate.
No chance that's happening.
No. And like the characters just aren't going to be the same. Like you had Scottie Pippen and all the stuff there. You had Dennis Rodman, you had Phil Jackson, like.
Well, and what's amazing about that is when those cameras were around, again, I don't get the impression it was like just about Michael. It was kind of about the whole team and the whole scene. But that was Michael's room. He had been there for 15 years. He owned that place. LeBron doesn't know anyone that works in Philly. He doesn't know the staff. He doesn't know the building, right? Like he's got no connection or relationships with anyone. And the idea of like meeting people, but hey, LeBron's coming in and going, no, stand that way because the camera's over here for my Last Dance doc. Also just makes it so manipulated. And
I could be wrong, but
so
I think he had cameras with him last year. I don't think this is a new thing.
It's possible. I know he agreed to like do interviews with ESPN last year. He had a reporter with him that actually was a brilliant long form interview where they sat down with him at multiple times throughout his career. Like he went back to Cleveland, played at the Garden, a bunch of around the All-Star break, and it was really, really good stuff. I'm going to watch. Like I'm compelled by LeBron. It is kind of like Michael's already done it, and we're trying to do it again with different context. All right, Jay's off today, back in action tomorrow. Here's our good friend Richard Griffin from GriffInPitch.com joining us here on Overdrive. How you doing, Griff?
Doing great, Hayes and Jonas. How are you guys?
We're doing very well. We just were talking about the Gosman clip. He was on Mike Wilner's podcast and saying that the mood in the clubhouse is different this year. Is that simply because of wins and losses? I mean, are you at all surprised by that comment? How do you respond to that?
Not surprised at all, and it's something that's probably a positive for Ross Atkins and John Schneider to learn firsthand. Because there's no way when you're losing, when your big guy hasn't hit a home run at home all year, when you can't come back from when you're 4 runs down, 5 runs down, you learn that the clubhouse only reacted to the wins last year, and they had a bunch of mentors who were participating. And Max Scherzer, they had guys that were out there that were doing well. When those same guys aren't doing well, and they're the key to the spirit in your clubhouse, George Springer, perfect example. It's kind of hard to have him being the gung-ho guy in the clubhouse when he's struggling to put numbers together that are even close to what he did last year.
Yeah, exactly. And that, again, I was all in on the good vibes last year. It was a lot of fun to believe that, I do think you got to give credit to Shapiro and Atkins to an extent. By all accounts, they've done a great job with Dunedin, right? They've done a great job of trying to include the families and make everyone feel happy and comfortable here, right, Griff? Like, it doesn't change the work they've done, but ultimately what this proves is you can do everything you want away from the field. You can build the most perfect organization in professional sports. If you're 10 games under 500, it's pretty far down the list of priorities for people.
Yeah, there were a couple of key clues to the fact that this would not be the same type of clubhouse at spring training and as opening day arrived. You had Max Scherzer, whose daughter sent a letter to get him a job with the Blue Jays, and that sounds all so sweet and good, and he's done at 42 years old. But she should be Agent of the Year. They should have an awards banquet for her. And the other one is Jose Barrios, who's still got them on the hook for $24 million player option for the next 2 years. And I haven't heard his name mentioned at all since spring training. And it wouldn't surprise me if they were trying to piss him off so much that he wanted out. Like, who would go out? Who would opt out on a deal when you haven't thrown a full season? You haven't thrown a season, and now they're got a $24 million plus $24 million player option. And I don't think that is out of the question that they're trying to force his hand and get him to leave. And then the other one is Shane Bieber, who everyone thought, what a feel-good story. He's taking the player option because he loves it here. He took the player option because he wouldn't have been able to pass a physical in any other camp.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
Well, and Griff, like we were talking about Chris Bassett, and Hayes made a good point. It was kind of foreseeable that this would happen. He would struggle this year. Obviously, he had the great postseason. But, I mean, like, how do you handle a situation when a guy has that much clubhouse value, but you're worried about the on-field product? Like, because Kevin Gausman talked about how influential he was in the clubhouse, but obviously there was the downside coming. Like, was this just a situation with Bassett in particular that they couldn't avoid?
I think it was a preview of what's going on there now with all those veteran pitchers. They're going to have to move on. Part of that is the trade deadline, where I could see them. And if fans are looking for return on investment, when the Jays deal Springer and Gausman and Bieber and maybe Hoffman, Varsho, when they deal all of these guys, don't look for return on investment. That's advice to the fans, because the Jays are trying to cut payroll. They're at the highest luxury tax threshold right now. And if they cut $18 million off of the rest of the season payroll, they'll get below the highest, and it'll save them millions of dollars, which they'll be able to invest next season. You look at last year when they traded at the deadline, 2024, when they traded all their veteran guys at the deadline on the way to a 70 or 74 win season. None of those guys they got back has really helped them, especially in 2025 when they went to Game 7 of the World Series. None of those guys they got back helped that season, and there's very few who are looking to help this year or next year. So what you should look for is, how do the Blue Jays in the offseason invest the money that they get from $100 million in pending free agents leaving, and how do they invest that money? Because the Jays are now like the Yankees, where, and we've talked about this before, Hayes, they're like the Yankees where you can't have a rebuild. Mm-hmm. It's impossible with the fan base, with the stadium, with the broadcast network, all being owned by the club. They can't afford to say, well, stay with us. In 3 years, we're going to be good again. They got to be good next year. And that's the challenge. And that's what fans should be looking for, not a fast finish to the 26 season.
Yeah, and that's important. You're right. I mean, they were never likely to ever entertain that idea, but that option was there like 2 or 3 years ago. After 24, maybe, when they lost. And they made the right choice, clearly, because last year they went to the World Series, and you'd never throw that away. I mean, that obviously gained a ton of value. And I'm talking from a fan perspective. Forget the owners and how much money they made. I mean, no fan would ever throw that experience away. It was such a great ride. But I think what you're pointing out is an important detail here, Griff, because, I'm hearing it constantly. I know you guys are as well. What kind of prospects could they get in return? What kind of, maneuvering could they make that could lead them to maybe getting a jump start on the offseason next year? Where what you're saying is they may be thinking simply, we gotta unload all of George Springer's contract. And if you're going to do that, why would the other team pay a premium for it? Like, there's only so many teams that are going to pay the full dollar. And if those 2 or 3 teams are going to do it, and they know there's only 2 or 3 teams in the market, why would they pay a premium for it if they're going to pick up the full bill at that point?
Right. Well, Hayes, here's the sleight of hand involved in Major League Baseball. If the Blue Jays send George Springer somewhere else, he's owed $6.7 million for the rest of the year. They could have that team pick up the entire contract, but there's a loophole in that if the Jays send $6.7 million as part of the trade package, then the contract is off their hands. They wash their hands, and that is taken off of their luxury tax threshold. So, I mean, they still not going to get a lot of good prospects like they did in 2014, 2024. But look to the Yankees, and I hate to say look to the Yankees because I hate the Yankees. But in 2016, they made room at midseason. They were hovering around 500. They made room at midseason and filled the spots with Gary Sanchez behind the plate, Aaron Judge in right field, and they released Nick Swisher, who was their most popular player. They released Alex Rodriguez mid-season, who was their highest paid player. And they did all those things mid-season, and they had a better record going down the stretch. Now, that's a possibility for the Blue Jays because it's a low bar that they've set. But if you look at that better record down the stretch, see who they got on the farm, especially on the pitching side, and rebuild during the offseason and spend as much money as they spent this year and spend it judiciously, and don't worry about the sentimentality of bringing back guys who were a part of the trip to the World Series.
So with everything you said about some of these players and their value, do you think the July that George Springer has had it does anything to increase his value, or just think they're just going to have to get something and move on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the Jays were happy with the way that his bat has sort of come alive, and they moved him out of the leadoff spot. He was never going to be a leadoff hitter for anybody. I'm surprised they haven't played him a few games in the outfield just to showcase that he can still play out there, and maybe have a team that needs, like the Yankees aren't going to need a DH for the rest of the year. They got guys. But if he could play the outfield and fill in until their injured players come back, I think his value would be there. But yeah, Jonas, I think the fact that he's hitting better in July bodes well for him being moved, but not the package of prospects they get back. It's going to be like 15th best in an organization, 18th best, whatever. But it'll flesh out the Jays farm system while allowing them to see what they've got otherwise.
With Richard Griffin. So Jay's off today, back home tomorrow for 3, then they hit the road again. They have 25 more home games. Presuming health, about 100 more at-bats at the Rogers Center for Vladdy Jr. If he gets to the end of the road without hitting a home run at the Rogers Center, will that be the most bizarre stat you've ever seen in your life?
It would be the most bizarre Blue Jays or Expos when I was there for that many years, 22 years. Yeah, it would be. And like, you watch him in batting practice and he's rattling the hotel. And when the game starts, it's like he's Luis Arias, he's like lining balls into right field. And it's totally bizarre. I think I'm hoping that there's an underlying injury that he's been gutting out and playing through, and that next year he becomes the Vlad that nobody's worth that kind of money that he signed for, but he becomes that Vlad that is the face of the franchise and helps them get back to contention.
Yeah, I mean, we keep coming up with comparisons in other sports.
Well, you made a great one. It's like if Matthews didn't score a goal at home the whole year, you'd be like, that.
If he had 3 goals right now and hadn't scored at Scotiabank,
the city would be on fire.
People would be going nuts, man. I mean, and listen, go ahead, Griff. Go ahead.
Hayes, the postseason that Vlad had last year bought him a lot of goodwill with the fan base, and I haven't seen Austin Matthews do that. So if he was coming off something like that, they might have a little more tolerance for it, but not much. And maybe you're right. Maybe that would not be a good thing. But I think the end of season and the postseason that Vlad had, it's going to run out soon, especially when they trade all these guys. It's going to run out soon, and the fans are going to quit coming. They're going to quit watching, which is what ownership can't afford to extend into next year. So they need to do something dramatic, drastic, and positive in the off season.
Yeah, I mean, he built up more goodwill than any athlete I can think of since Kawhi, I guess, in 19. And Kawhi wasted that pretty quickly when he left for the Clippers like a month later. But, yeah, it's like he had a ton of goodwill that he earned. And it's not that this isn't getting attention. It is. It's a daily conversation. Like, the whole baseball world, I've seen a bunch of people online saying, I can't believe this stat's real. Like, Vladdy hasn't hit a home run.
It's crazy.
At the Dome yet.
And just the fact, like, set that aside, that he has 6 homers.
Yes.
And, like, I checked the box scores. I'm like, Jonah Heim, random catcher, has, like, 13 home runs.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like just all these guys who are like, they have more home runs than Vladdy.
If he had a bizarre split where he had 23 on the road, you'd say this is just abnormal, and there's something really weird going on. But he's got 6 on the road.
Here's one observation from when I was with the Blue Jays for the 4 years in PR. I went down in the dugout in Kansas City, and he was, I think, 0 for 17, a very rare streak he had, and he was pouting and sulking and in the back of the dugout. And he had teammates who came over to him and shook him against the wall and said, snap out of it, you're going to be better. He has nobody like that anymore. And he's expected to be the team leader. Maybe he never will be. Maybe he will be. But it's not happening this year. And with Bo leaving and leaving the stage to Vlad, I think that's been a factor that he hasn't been able to handle.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. Jay's off today, back in action tomorrow. Trade deadline on Monday. GriffsThePitch.com. Always great catching up with you, Richard. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks, guys. Anytime.
There he is, Richard Griffin. That's a pretty good anecdotal, evidence of what happened in the past. And Griff saw it up close and personal. And now, he's got the marquee to himself, more or less, with he and Bo have always kind of been able to feed off each other. Mm-hmm. They're both missing each other right
now. And, like, he's no longer the young guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, who would do that? I'm trying to think, like, I guess Springer?
Yeah, but he's
not having a good...
Right,
so you know what I mean? Like, it's like, who is that person now?
Yeah. No, it's true. Like, Vladdy, he's 27 years old. He's been in the league for a long time. He's no longer a kid anymore. You're getting paid like a mature veteran, and you're the man. And that is a difficult transition. It's not. It's one you're paying with the expectation that they will not have to concern themselves with that transition or won't be affected negatively by it. But everything is just snowballed against him this year, and he's got to own that. It's on him, but you can tell it's so bad that he doesn't know how to get himself out of it, and now he's a little bit banged up and. Who knows how that might affect the rest of the way.
Does any part of you start to worry about next year, or you just think that this is just like one-off?
For him?
Yeah, like when do you start thinking like, man, is this like, he's not going to be this, but does it change your perception of what he is next year after that? Like, do you think he gets back to, like he was never contending for MVPs except for that 1 year, but does it change your perception of him like long-term at all?
It's not far off from doing that.
Yeah,
like he's got to have a really good year next year. If you tag 2 back-to-back years of this is below mediocre play, but if he's just mediocre next year, then it's going to be very concerning. Like what happened, what's wrong. Now it's more than just a blip on the radar. Like again, this year, no one with the Blue Jays is obviously happy about this. I don't think it's going to cost anyone their jobs. I don't think. Like Shapiro, Atkins, Schneider, they're all going to be back and everyone's going to be fine. But Griff brings up a good point. Like with the ownership they own everything. And when they saw what they saw last year and how much they gained from it, how much they made financially, the buzz, the bandwagon filling up, the fan base exploding, they just have to keep going and going.
But you know what the problem with that is?
And they need Vladdy to be great in order for it to work.
That can be problematic, right? Because then you're chasing something that you can't actually attain, right? Like I don't know why I thought of this, but I'm just thinking like the Canucks, where like forever, like we're gonna try to be competitive, we're gonna try, and it's like you're not. Like you can try, but like you're not. It's not realistic.
Yeah. Well, the Leafs could be going through it right now. Like if this doesn't work, and if this time next year, if they miss the playoffs again this year, then last year wasn't just the season from hell. Guys got injured. Berube couldn't coach. Treeliven made all these mistakes. Like if everything implodes again next year, then you're to a point where it is proven like that era is done, and you need to completely reset.
But the ownership of the team going to want a rebuild when they now, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
the same owner owns that team,
right? Like are they going to
all
want the team to be
team.
bad for 5 years? And like people will always watch the games anyway. Like it's just interesting now how the dynamics are.
Big time. Yeah, there's one owner that owns everything, and that is interesting. Like, what is the mantra? Or is it equally? Do they look at every team the exact same way? Like, gotta be uber competitive right now. Is there the ability to step back? I don't know. All right, the O-Dog coming up in about 15. We got Brandon Beane coming up too. GM of the Bills. OverDrive continues up on YouTube Live.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
My bad habits lead to late nights, sitting alone. Conversations with a stranger I barely know. Swearing this will be the last, but it probably won't. I got nothing left to lose.
All right, TSN 1050 wants you to be our Indy insider at the Ontario Honda dealers, Indy at Markham. Experience all the action from the comfort of a trackside suite, pit passes, and access to the Aviva IndyCar paddock to get up close to the teams, cars, and drivers. Today's Overdrive keyword is throttle. Throttle. It's a good one. That's your keyword. You have 10 minutes and 50 seconds to text that word and your name to 105050. So text throttle and your name to 105050. First up, we'll have another keyword for you tomorrow morning. The more keywords you enter, the better your chances of winning. Full details at tsn1050.ca. Happy birthday to Dylan Larkin. You see that? Dylan Larkin's birthday today. Big Instagram post from the Detroit Red Wings, and everyone was very, very gracious and, I think straightforward with their optimism when it comes to Larkin and the Red Wings' future.
Traded before camp, yes or no?
No.
I think you're right. And I think it'll be awkward.
What's it? I mean, I don't see how he shows up to camp, though. That's the question. If he's not traded, does he show up?
Oh, great question. Yes. He's the captain. Like, I don't know. He seems like a professional guy. I don't know. It's tough.
I mean, he's demanded out. He's asked for a trade. Right? Like, but this, like, at some point, you have to make a call.
But
you
sitting out is not going to change anything,
Well,
is it?
will, though. If he pulls like a Mike Pecker or something like that, he's like, I'm literally never playing for you. But then it gets really nasty.
Yes.
Then he can never go back to Michigan ever again, and he's from there.
Yeah.
But that's where the rubber's going to meet the road.
There,
Oh, yeah. He went to Michigan. He's from Michigan. Captain for a long time. Been there for 11 years. But that is where, it's put up or shut up time. Like, if they don't honor your request or demand and make the deal, do you show up? If you don't, then it's crazy. Now we're in one. I kind of hope that happens. Hour 2 coming up. The O-Dog will join us. Brandon Bean coming up as well. Overdrive continues up on YouTube Live.
stars that took over the world kick off a new season in La Liga.
That is sensational!
La Liga season kickoff on TSN.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Hour 2 OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you more ways to play your game your way. Brian Hayes, Jonas Siegel of The Athletic, Brandon Bean later in the hour, GM of the Bills. They got a new stadium opening up this year, always exciting, right? Got a new head coach, got a new wide receiver in DJ Moore.
Big expectations.
Yeah, and Josh Allen was talking about it yesterday, that, in defense of the new uniforms, that it represents a sense of newness. And, I find that interesting that, like, they made the playoffs again. They make the playoffs every single year. They won a playoff game down in Jacksonville. They had that game in Denver. They had it, and it got away from them. But if that is the kind of general consensus around there, that you need to, like, completely get rid of the past, and it's like a sense of restarting for a team that's that good, if that's their viewpoint, what are the Jets saying in New York? You know what I mean? What's Miami talking about if the Bills feel like they have to have that type of approach in order to have success?
You get it, though, right? Like, you want to change the vibe. I hate bringing it back here to everything, but, like, remember when the goal song became, like, a big conversation? They're like, fine, we'll do a new goal song, and then they changed it, and then...
But then they kept changing it.
Well, because there was like a stupid controversy about the one that they picked. And
that's right.
And then anyway, it's just like, I just think you're trying to change up the feeling. But to your point, like, they've already changed a lot of stuff while also keeping a lot the same.
And it's also the thinnest of margins in terms of where you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
Like, you're already like an 11, 12 win, 13 win team that wins playoff games every year.
It's championship or bust now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, again, like, how much are you throwing out, like, that is possibly like what the Blue Jays are going through right now, where they maybe threw out too much. I don't know. It's a difficult thread to kind of needle. Like, you gotta do it right in terms of turnover, but not too much turnover.
Let me ask you this, to bring it back to the Jays. If you went to Ross Atkins and said, we'll give you one do-over, you can do one thing different from the offseason, is there anything that, like, immediately springs to mind? Because I'm not sure, like, there's one thing that they could have done that actually would have changed it.
No, I don't think, like, if you're suggesting bringing Bichette back,
I don't know, like,
that doesn't change
I don't
anything.
think that's it.
I don't think so. I don't think there's this team is clearly not one piece away.
Right.
From
that's why, like, even Eric Lauer had another good start. I think it was last night.
I was watching.
He goes 6, right?
He's so good out there. Like, his numbers are great. They were so and it's Joe Davis that does the local call.
And he's awesome.
He's phenomenal. But he's the guy for Fox in the World Series, which is so aggravating because he's clearly Dodgers biased.
Yeah.
And I understand up here, obviously, Shulman and Buck were calling it, and a lot of Canadians were obviously watching the Sportsnet version of the World Series. But you could get the World Series on Fox up here, and all the online stuff. So you'd see Davis and his calls for, like, the Blue Jays compared to, like, an Ohtani home run or what have you, always had a little bit of a different vibe. But I was watching the pregame last night, and they're like, man, Lauer's been great, and he's got like a 3.40 ERA out there, and his stuff is electric, and he just looks great. And that was when he was with the team this year.
Yeah,
that's not an offseason play. They just never gave something about him. Either Pete Walker or John Schneider just didn't like Eric
remember
Lauer. They could really use him this year.
I think they gave him an opener, and remember he had some comments where he's like, I don't
really
like
unhappy
this.
with that. Yes, he was very vocal. It got to a point where they felt they had to get rid of him, clearly, because they thought it was detrimental to the vibes of the room.
Well, and to bring it back, like, that wouldn't have changed anything.
No,
like,
and
would
he
it help
didn't
having
pitch well early in the year either.
But it was like 30-something innings.
He struggled.
But, like, he was their best pitcher in the first half last year. He was awesome.
They needed him last year. He was a Band-Aid that was mandatory last year.
Yeah.
When Scherzer was hurt and other guys were going through it. Barrios was going through it. He was so good for them. And he was even good in relief in the playoffs.
Yes.
You know, he came in and gave them some pretty good innings. But it was tough to watch because he was there. You know, Dodger Stadium was packed. They're obviously playing. They're the Dodgers, and Lauer's out there. Looks amazing. Weather's perfect. Joe Davis is on the call. You know, frustrating stuff. All right. We need to get to the bottom of a tweet that was sent out a while ago that you and Doogie fell for hook, line, and sinker.
I was told about this.
Yes.
And I was like, I just assumed it was true.
All right, because we saw Gavin McKenna skating around in number 92, and it does look glorious. It's a great number, and it looks great on him. But here's the original 92 with the Leafs, the O-Dog Jeff O'Neill joining us. Oh, what's happening?
You guys are really going to make me go through this, aren't you?
I know what's true and what's not. These guys, take us through the McKenna 92 stuff.
Well, let me ask you, Hayes, you obviously know the truth to it, right?
Of course.
Yeah. I can't even believe you put me on the spot like this, and I'm probably going to get somebody call me a POS, but I have to confess something, and it's something that should be so obvious, but I didn't. It went too far, and I couldn't go back on it. Gavin McKenna did not, nor would he ever call me to get my input on wearing number 92. I only played for the Leafs for 2 years. I do know both of his agents, but that did not happen.
Okay,
so
thank you.
He picked 92 because he wanted some type of combination of 72 and 97. So he picked 92, and that's what happened.
Perfect.
He did not call me, and I feel awful about saying that because I had so many people I love and respect and relatives and hockey people. They're like, I talked to Paul Bissonnette the other day, and he's like, it's really cool that he called you, man. And I'm like, Biz, he did not call me, nor why would he call me? I scored 40 goals in 2 years for it's not like you would ever need to call me.
I know.
I was just trying to have some fun on social media, and it got to a place where I'm like, I just have to leave this there because I can't delete it or I can't go back on it now.
Yes. Well, see, thank you. And because Jonas, you and Doogie were both like, no, that happened. Like, he obviously did FaceTime. And it was like being picked up by CNN and stuff, you know, like it was on Meet the Press.
I know, but I have felt bad for myself because I'm like, I'm not important enough for anyone to FaceTime me and say, can I wear your number?
Like anyone that follows you knows that. But you joke on Twitter all the time. Like when you're in the gym and you're like, LeBron just walked in and we did a workout. I'm like, no, everyone knows you're joking.
Yeah, but this is like conceivable. Like I could see this
That's why it's such a great tweet.
Yeah.
Let me just interrupt for a second here. Let me the phoning me is a little bit more reasonable than I'm doing abs with LeBron.
I know
now,
that,
you idiot.
But you know what I'm saying though. You tweet out like when you're at the World Juniors, like I was just in the gym for 2. No, you weren't in the gym for 2 hours with all these people throughout the NHL. Like
right. Well, I am in the gym
a little bit.
I'm not keeping track of who enters or who doesn't.
Exactly. It's a great bit, and I want it to continue. And I think now you've created something here where you got to just keep it going.
If I start getting crap talk on Twitter because of you, I can't believe you. That was supposed to just die
on
and
the
go
vine.
to bed.
I know.
It was supposed to die, dude.
Well,
you're
right.
To die.
You're right. It doesn't. Ultimately, it's completely harmless, and it doesn't matter. No. That's the beauty of it. It's not like you reported on something that actually matters.
It's good though, because I might have gone to camp and been like, "Yeah, it's pretty cool that you FaceTime Jeff O'Neill."
That's why I think it's important to bring this up because you're right. Someone might go to Gavin and be like, "Tell us about your FaceTime with the O-Dog," and he would look at you like, "What the hell are you talking about right now?" All right, good. I just wanted that clarified. More for our purposes, because Jonas.
You know what? I feel like I had an intervention, and I just got it off my chest.
I know. I'm so happy.
And I feel cleansed right now. I'm glad it happened.
Because, dude, it was coming. Like, first Leaf game on TSN. I guarantee you, someone was coming to you
Masters,
saying, hey, we want to start. We got McKenna. He's going to do an interview. They're going to talk about this. And then you wowould be sweating bullets, dude. Like,
dude, what I wanted to do is a spoof on it where I was like walking down by the water by my place in Collingwood with like Masters or something, and I would have been like, this is where he FaceTimed me. And, I make fake tears, and I just like, I don't know. And then Duffy asking McKenna, like, how did the face? And he'd be like, I didn't FaceTime. I don't even know that guy.
I know. I love it. I've
spent 10 minutes with Gavin McKenna sitting beside Craig Button and Laura Dykin at the Memorial Cup. And other than that, like, he would not ever in his life would he. But I feel so bad because I know people have come up to me all over and said, it's awesome he called you.
I know.
And I just have to run away. I run to my car.
I know. Like, there were legit, like, stories on, like, massive news wires around the world.
You know what's funny?
Gavin McKenna FaceTime
you said, how could I believe this? I actually thought about it. I was like, so how would that work? Is Jeff just picking up a call from a random number?
Exactly.
Him?
That's another good point. You think anyone's doing
weird.
that? Who's answering a FaceTime from a number they don't know or
right.
don't have? Like, no one would ever possibly do that.
I got 407 up my rear end. I don't even answer their calls. Like, who is answering a FaceTime from a rando?
I know. It would never, ever happen. Ever in a million years.
And by the way, if you're driving around listening or watching, you get yourself in a lot of trouble answering a rando FaceTime.
Big time. You got to be careful with that. Very careful. Well, it's great to hear from you. And listen, the reason it came up is that McKenna was in Chicago skating yesterday, and everyone's all over it that he looks great. The 92 looks phenomenal. It does look great. It's a great number. It's a big number. And I think, a month and a half from now when we're all back, because the season starts in September, that's going to be a big story. But Jonas, like we asked Jonas, if you could have a one-on-one with one person in the organization, who would you have it with? How would you answer that question?
Without a question, it would be Austin Matthews.
Yeah? Okay.
Why? What were your answers?
Yeah, Jonas said
That's
Austin.
what I said.
Yep, he said Austin.
I would like to know where he's at physically, and I would actually I was thinking about this a couple of weeks ago, actually. Like, and we've been around these guys for so long. You just wonder, like, if you look at Connor McDavid, I think at this point in his career, without winning a Stanley Cup, like, he's in a bad mood, that guy. Mm-hmm. Like, he's pissy and he's grumpy. And he's 30 years old, and he's a grown man. And I noticed it in my career. It was like guys are so fired up to be in the league and the accolades and the stardom. And after a while, it's just like the grind wears on you, and guys start getting pissy, and they want to win, and they get impatient, and they're grizzled, and they're just not in a great mood all the time. And I wonder that about these guys that have been around this team for so long. Like, is William Nylander and Austin Matthews and Morgan, and you could throw John in there too. Like, are they going to show up to training camp and have a little chip on their? But I already know the answer, almost. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because it's just not really in their personality. Like, you would think that they'd be like, the joke's over, and you would think that this would have happened in the past as well. And I'm not trying to dump on the guys, but I just wondered that, like, are they going to be like grizzled and kind of teed off and ready to do something, or is it the same kind of vibe that it always is, where it's like, yeah, we all love each other, and we're all pros, and we're going to get this done, and we want to win a cup here, and I don't know. I'm fascinated to see that, but most of all with Austin.
Yeah, it would be refreshing though if he showed up with a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, like a growl on. You know, like I've always said for years, Brian, I'd love to see these guys chippy and pissy, kind of like McDavid, where he's just focused and he wants to win a goal, like a cup, and that's his goal, and he's impatient with it, and he would do anything to do it. And you understand that the clock is ticking, and he's pissy all the time. And I have an appreciation for that because I know what it means.
See, the tricky thing is I've actually seen that. Like, I'm around them so much. And it's happened, but it's not been like a team-wide thing. Like with Marner, for 2 years, like it felt like he was over the Toronto thing. You know what I mean? Like it's different from like, oh man, like we need to win.
How so, Jonas? What
like,
do you mean over the Toronto thing?
Just over the, I have to talk every third day about this, and like everything is a story, and like the media and like the fans and the criticism. Like you could just tell he wasn't enjoying himself anymore. Like it didn't seem like playing here was fun. And I honestly felt that a bit with Riley last year for the first time, and he's been here a long time. Mm-hmm. I'd never felt that before, and like there was a lot going on for him. Like it was a struggle personally. The team was struggling. So like I've seen that like on an individual level, but not like in like what you're talking about. Like they actually had 1 year after one of the Tampa series where they came back and they were like, the regular season's going to mean so much, and we're going to try to make this matter. So we build up into the playoffs. And I think they had a really good regular season that year, but it almost, I know what you're saying. Like, I'm just not sure it works like with their personalities.
Well,
like that's just
yeah, and it's different context. Like what O's saying is, you'd like collectively the veterans to be like, we're winning here, like this is where we want to win, and we're pissed because we haven't won here.
Yeah.
But what you're referencing is, I got to get out of here. Pissed.
Well, I'm just, it's
like,
just like I've had enough of this. Like it's just like it's a lot. Like he knows playing here. Like it's different from playing in Carolina. Like it just is.
First of all, let me touch on one thing, Jonas. Like I kind of like something just drives me a little bit crazy with like you just touched on the media expectations. And I know Mitch Marner's agent had some comments, I believe, like 10 days ago saying the organization didn't protect him when he was here. The one thing I don't understand is with the hype about these guys, and it was all deserved. They were all star players, and they became superstars, and they got together. And with that came very lofty expectations. Everybody thought that group was going to go on deep runs and have an opportunity to win a cup, whether their roster was flawed or not. But like they were picked as the Stanley Cup favorite, I believe, 3 or 4 years in a row. Criticism along with all those failures, like did they think it was just going to be a walk in the park with all those expectations and not getting it done and losing in game 7s in the first round? Like I don't understand what their expectation was. Did they think it was just going to be a party? Like nothing to see here. That's one thing that I find very surprising. It's like you get the money, you get the accolades, the stardom. And with all the failures, like, what did you think there wasn't going to be any criticism? And now they're all complaining that they weren't protected, or the Toronto media are all a bunch of lunatics. Like that's one thing. And I know some things can get out of hand sometimes with people on Twitter, and the media coverage is a lot. But what did you honestly think was going to happen?
That was actually one thing. Remember, at the end of every year, you're like, I wonder if someone's going to come out and be like, this is like unacceptable. This is crap. And it never, like, you know, when Nathan McKinnon had those comments way back, I think that
he's like, I've been in the league for 9 years and I haven't won squat.
Yeah, and I think he said, I'm tired of this, you know what? Mm-hmm. And we never heard that from them. You're right. Like, it never felt like the expectations aligned with the way that they felt they were being treated. Like,
I know.
They won.
I just caught my attention with Darren Ferris's comments where he said the organization didn't protect Mitch. Like, this is not directed at Mitch. It's like all of them. When you don't even come close to expectations, you're not protecting yourself.
Well, what do you want? What do you want?
Exactly.
What do you want people to say? Like,
well, but
it's like you want $11 million a year. You want to go to the mailbox on July 1st and get $10 million. You want to be talked about cup contenders. You want everybody to talk about you this way and that way, and then you fail miserably. You're like, as athletes and you're just not protecting yourself. Like that's just the way sports is, man. I found those comments to be somewhat confusing, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, it's a great point. That it's almost as if it's like there was a self-esteem issue with all these guys, because they took offense to people having high expectations.
Right.
Like, how dare you?
And then being critical after. It just goes hand in hand with the way the game is going. And honestly, it's like, it's like minor hockey parenting where it's like it's not your fault. Don't worry. Like that's what I guess the expectation is. It's like minor hockey where it's like don't even think about blaming me. That wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
Like I don't. This is the NHL, man.
I know. The NHL.
The NHL, and it's like they weren't protected. It's like
Well,
I have
honestly,
no idea.
You could make the argument the opposite way, that actually like they may have protected them too much and like it kind of got away from them in the end.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
That was always
On a lot of different levels.
I know.
You never heard like Keith. Not to my knowledge, there might have been some pointed comments, but I know Brendan Shanahan. He you know what he came out and said? We like our players, and we're not changing them.
Yeah.
How is that not protecting you? The GM would be like, we're running it back. We believe in these guys. We're going to win here. We're going to do it. Like, that's protecting them. I don't think anybody in the organization ever pointed them out and said, these guys need to step up in big moments. The only people that said that are Brian Hayes and myself.
Yeah, exactly. People on the outside looking in, more or less. And they were. I think you're right, Jonas. Like the being, and you're inside the building more than we are, clearly, but we've got a connection to it as well. Like the general kind of approach to all these players from the Leafs is like put a like a wall up around them, really insulate them, really be careful, really tell them don't say anything. Like they are.
I just think they made
overly protected.
I think they made an effort to try to like this. It's not an easy market to play in because every little thing is picked apart.
Yep.
And that's because there's a lot of interest in every little thing. Like it's not unfair. And they made an effort to let's give Mitch or let's give William or Austin the day off from media today because it's been a lot. Like they've talked yesterday, they talked 5 days in a row. 6
That's
days.
reasonable.
That's reasonable.
That is reasonable.
Totally
very reasonable.
So they made that effort. Like you can't say that they didn't go out of their way to try to understand that this is different than playing somewhere else.
Well, and I don't believe that they didn't force them to do anything. Like I guess I can only use our own show as an example. Like we've been trying to get these guys on. They don't make them go do anything, which there are other players in other markets. You've got to do this. Like you've got to go. I would assume Macklin Celebrini's doing the rounds right now in San Jose. Austin Matthews isn't doing anything.
But again, it's not the same. The rounds are people. It's just.
I understand that, but I'm just all I can use myself and our show as an example, where in the past, I know Jonas, you and I, we used to work for a different rights holder.
Mm-hmm.
There was the GM was on every week, the coach was on every week, players were on every single week.
Yeah.
We don't live in that world anymore.
No.
Like it's actually much more insulated today than it was 20 years ago. It's also a different world today. Social media is alive.
They just flat out say nowadays we're not a chance in hell we're doing that.
Right. It's a totally different world.
But the irony about what Jeff is saying is their expectations were that high. Like it wasn't just fans and media talking about wow, this team's great. Like they thought they were that good.
They should win.
Yeah, like they had those. That's what's so weird is there was a disconnect there.
Well, and the question will be: has there been enough change to make this feel different in terms of projecting next season? In other words, do you look at what Chaika's done, Hiller being here, Bob and Net, Radish here, McKenna here, where you say, okay, I'm going to project what they're going to be as a clean slate, or is that even possible? Because Matthews and Willie and John are here, and if Riley's still here, it's just not possible to do that.
I think it's a complete roll of the dice, Brian. I like the fact that John Chaika came in here and he acknowledged that some of these guys, and we talked about it all year, they just need to go play somewhere else because it hasn't been working out, and they weren't good enough. They had to kind of flush things out and get some different faces on there. But we talked about this our very last show of the year, and the cautionary tale is the Vancouver Canucks. And there's some similarities with Quinn Hughes and Austin Matthews. I think the Vancouver Canucks wanted to impress Quinn Hughes, and they signed a bunch of guys, and they signed his buddy Brock Besser. And it's like, look, we're going to be competitive for you. And you know what they were? They were the worst team in the NHL. Mm-hmm. So there's a cautionary tale. So the Toronto Maple Leafs, they want to impress Austin Matthews. They want to try to win in this 2-year window if it's that long. And they brought in a bunch of different faces, but it just doesn't automatically work. A lot of things have to fall into place with the new guys and the old guys fitting in. And can you get it together? And can you become a team? Or it's honestly, it's a coin flip. Like it could be outstanding and it could just fall flat.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you're doing something like this on the fly. You've got a bunch of different personnel. No one's really familiar with each other. You get out of the gates and who knows what happens. Like if things don't gel, we see how the league works. Like if you have a poor first 20 games, you're in a big time hole in the NHL right now.
Big time.
Yeah,
Big time.
it's almost like the teams that are, and Brian, you talk about it a lot, where it's like the teams got to put that chunk together, and it seems like the quality teams do it right off the bat. And it's not that it's going to be smooth sailing, but I honestly think it's a coin flip if this works, just because of how last year went and how guys performed. And there's just a lot of question marks that all have to work out for it to fall into place. But I like the fact that they were willing to get different players and make changes. Whether they work out or not is just another thing.
Yep, 100%. Well, we'll see, man. Camp's right around the corner. We're into August this weekend. It's coming quick, man. Coming quick. All right, Dogger, we'll leave you there. Great stuff. Great update.
Buddy, I gotta do a quick little hazy B, and I need you guys to give me your 2 cents.
Okay.
It's more of a would you have done the same thing? I did something today, and I've been thinking about it, and I feel awful about it. I really do. I was committed to playing golf with Frank Corrado and his buddy Miguel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the CEO of Coppenwood, Dan Quinn, called me yesterday and said, Ernie Clement and Davis Snyder are teeing it up, and they want you to join them.
Oh. What happened?
So what I did,
you pulled a shoot on Frankie and Miguel?
What I did was I texted Frankie and Miguel, and I was honest, man. I was like, guys, I'm going to be straight up. I'm big leaguing you two, and I'm playing golf with Ernie Clement and David Schneider tomorrow.
Yeah. I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
I got Ern to FaceTime Miguel and just say, I'm playing with O-Dog today, and this is what he's doing, because I wanted to be straight up. But it's like, Hayes, just be straight up with me. You would have done the same thing.
Yeah, it's 100%. Right? I would have come up with a different excuse as to why I couldn't play. I don't know if I would have been as straightforward.
Dude, you cannot do that, because if they find out,
I know, you're right.
You look like a total D-bag.
You're right. Yeah, I mean, I'm giving you credit for being so straightforward. I might have been a bigger weasel about it, where you actually were just being honest. You're like, this is what I'm doing. And I
know what you would have said. You would have said, you know what, guy, at 9:00 p.m., you would have said, I feel like garbage, guys. I'm out.
I would have come up with a gutless excuse and pulled the pin and then gone out with Ernie and Davis. 100%. And I know the way things are playing at Coppenwood right now, the place is as mint as any course on earth right now. So,
dude, I'll tell you what. From my ankle to my knee, me and Ern had to apply aloe looking for Davis's golf ball in that fescue. I'm telling you, that fescue, dude.
I know.
Finally, at one time, I looked at my partner and I said, I'm not looking for his golf ball anymore.
Yeah, I've been there, dude. It's the worst when the whole search party's coming in every hole. It is,
and no
really
one has
tough.
the jam to say, dude, that's enough.
Yeah,
enough.
I know. Just drop one and let's move on. It's tough because he wants to play. I get it. It's troubling. But you made the right play. You got to make it up to Frankie and Miguel, right? I think that goes without saying. There's your dear Hazy B. All right, buddy.
All right. Frankie, Miguel, I love you guys. And Jonas and Brian, I love you guys too.
See you, buddy. Chat soon. There he is.
See you, pal.
The O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Tough decision, but understandable in the end.
He took the classy way out of it.
He did, and he was honest about it, which is great. I would be much more gutless and greasy, I think. But I credit him for his honesty. All right, Brandon Beane coming out, GM of the Bills. New stadium, new coach, new wide receiver. What are we thinking for this season? Catch up with Brandon next.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, best bets coming up later in the hour. Jay's off tonight, back in action tomorrow. Great to see NFL camps opening up. Lots of excitement throughout the NFL. But only one team with a new stadium that I'm aware of, Jonas, unless I'm missing something. But a lot of change in Western New York. We got a new stadium. We got a new head coach, right? Some new players, obviously. But same GM. He's been on a bunch. We love having him on, the president of football ops and the GM for the Bills. Here he is, back on Overdrive, Brandon Bean. How you doing, Brandon?
Doing well. How you guys doing?
We're doing very well. We played the clip of Josh yesterday, kind of defending the new uniforms, but talking about how they're symbolic for him, that it represents a sense of newness with the stadium and the coach and all this. And I'm curious where you stand on that. Is that kind of the general viewpoint of the whole organization, that it's a new lease on life this year? What do you make of those comments from Josh?
Yeah, I mean, you love Josh. Josh is a loyal. He's going to defend his teammates. He's going to defend the organization. And, again, I don't follow all the I couldn't have told you all the hatred. I heard a little bit, but it sounds like it was a lot. It's, like anything, you throw something new out there, you're always going to have opinions. You know that. And, every decision I make or don't make, I know there's 1,000 opinions and people get pissed off. So it comes with the territory. I'm an older school type traditionalist with all sports, all things, but that's the way of the world now. I mean, you started in college years ago. Oregon probably really started with all the uniforms, and it's kind of, for a while the league didn't really embrace that, but over the recent years, they sell and people like the cool little things for a game or two, these alternate unis. And so they're kind of fun. I know last year we did the winter one or whatever, which I thought was kind of a cool, but there was some people that didn't like that one as well. Like I said, you roll something out, I doubt 100% of the people are going to love it. It just kind of is what it is.
Absolutely. And in terms of that kind of symbolism, like, Josh saying we need that. We need, you got the new stadium, new head coach, you got new players. We were discussing this last hour. You guys have been so good for so long. You make the playoffs every year. You win playoff games every year, just like you did last year. So, like, how much newness do you really need? In other words, what you're obviously trying to get from like the championship game to a Super Bowl. It's not like you're going from last place to just trying to make the playoffs here. How much newness and type of, a different attitude is really needed for this club this year?
Yeah, I think it's finding that balance. Like, we do have a new head coach. Coincidentally, he was from here, but you don't want it to be, hey, it's just like one guy stepped down and we're just carrying it exactly the way it is. But at the same time, Joe Brady's not. Listen, Sean McDermott had a great run here of 9 seasons, helped us, be a consistent contender, and we've had a lot of success. But ultimately, the job was open. We haven't been able to get to that big game and win that big game, which is what we all want. And so I think that's the balance of, you don't want to just continue doing the same exact thing, but you don't want to throw it all out either. It's striking that balance of, what do we want to keep the same? What do we need to tweak? And, you go with, a Joe Brady who earned this job. He had we interviewed 9 guys, and we treated, I told people in the media, we treated it like Joe was, I think I used the example, like he was coaching for the Green Bay Packers or something, like he wasn't here, and made him interview like that. And that's kind of the mindset he took with the team, is like, this is not year 10, this is year 1. Even though a lot of people have been here since this regime started with me and McDermott, 10 seasons ago. And so I think Joe's done a really nice job in balancing that with our players, with our coaches, with our football staff and the building. This training camp, Joe spoke to the team, he spoke to the staff. Again, reminded, this is year 1 of this training camp. Even though we come to St. John Fisher every year, Don't just assume because we did something the last 9 years here a certain way that means it's exactly the same. And so I think that's what we're trying to do. We want to be consistent. We want to be that contender we've been. But ultimately, we want to hoist that trophy, and we're trying to find that strike that right balance. And I think Joe's doing a really good job.
Well, so what has it been like with Joe? Because obviously it's a familiar person to you, super familiar, but it's a new position for him. Like, what has that transition been like so far?
Yeah, it's been really good. I mean, Joe, if you know Joe, he's a high energy, he's a positive guy. He's moving and shaking. I mean, he is a walking can of caffeine, so to speak. I mean, the dude is, and he's in the building a lot. Almost too much. I was telling him, dude, when do you sleep, bro? But he's got contagious energies and an infectious personality. But he also knows how to strike a balance, and he's not just a good guy. He is a good guy, and he wants to see you well, but he will jump you if you need to be jumped, whether that's a staff member, whether that's a player. And I think some of the people, even saw that, the last couple of days in practice. Yesterday I think we had 5 or 6 offsides, and that's his side of the ball especially. He was not happy with that, and he let the offense know it that. That's not winning football, and he will do that. He'll be able to do that, but he'll also know when to pat these guys on the butt and when to kick them in the butt, and that's what the good ones do. So, hey, listen, this is our first run through. The biggest thing he'll have to do is he's been calling plays from the box. He'll be calling them down on the field, and he's also the head coach, so he's got to manage the game. And Joe's a very smart guy, cerebral, good thinking. Quick thinking, on his feet. He'll study these things, and listen, nothing's going to be perfect, but I'm looking forward to watching how he not only runs our offense, but manages the game for us.
Well, I'm curious if you can give us a couple of examples of maybe how he might change the approach of the attitude of the mindset of the offense, going from offensive coordinator, where at times if McDermott wanted to call something different, I'm guessing he would have veto power over that. How might it be different this year, going from coordinator to head coach? Like how different might the offense look, or just the approach to going forward on 4th down, red zone offense, like that he may bring a different approach now that he has the last say because he's also the head coach?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Joe, when he's working for someone, he's going to be very loyal and do that. And he was, hey, this is how Coach McDermott wants to do it. This is exactly how we do it. And you're exactly right. The head coach has veto power on certain things, and Joe's going to follow those orders. And so, listen, I don't know every situation how he's going to handle it, but he'll know going into each game and going into each drive. We'll have our game management people. He'll be on the mic with those guys talking about, hey, guys, I want to be more aggressive here, or I don't. I want to make sure we do this and that. I think sometimes, you're going to be able to plan ahead a little more when you're the final spokesperson for what this team's going to do. And I think that's naturally going to help. And, the different side of the ball is Jim Leonard and those guys being on the same page of when we're on defense, him telling Jim kind of what to expect. Or what we're planning to do in certain situations. Every game is its own, so I don't want to say Joe's going to be more aggressive or less aggressive. I think he's going to take all the information he has, how we're playing, who we're playing, what the situation is, and that'll kind of determine, how aggressive he is and of course, how aggressive our team is.
So you bring in DJ Moore this offseason. You guys have not had a receiver catch for over 1,000 yards since 23 when Stephon Diggs did it. Do you need a wide receiver to take off for you guys to get to that next level this year? Do you need a true number one to explode for this offense to really get where you want it to be?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think, ultimately it's about winning games and scoring points. And we've been very highly ranked as far as scoring points, which is the number one thing, right? You're putting pressure on the defense, when you're putting up, we've been around that 30-point mark for a few straight years. So, you're right. The last time we've had a 1,000-yard receiver is when Diggs was here. you're never going to turn away. You want good football players. You want, a James Cook. You want the tight ends we have. There's different ways to score points, running the ball, spreading it out, throwing to the backs in the pass game, a Ty Johnson, and the receivers. Shakir, yes, he hasn't had 1,000 yards, but he's been a very productive player for us. And so, yeah, give me 3 number ones. I would love to do that, but it's all got to fit. We were looking for a guy that in DJ that could give us. Obviously, he's been a number one. I don't want to get into whether he's still a number one, at this point or not. He's probably, the closest thing we have to a number one, on the team. But, Joe still operates with, the ball should go where it goes. We're not going to force it. We want a lot of good players. We want to have various matchups, each week. And some weeks we want to get the ball to the wideouts more. Some weeks we want to run the ball more. Some weeks we think the best matchups are with our tight ends. And so that's what we want to do as we build the roster each year is how many different ways can we create matchup advantages for our team? Because every team you face is different each week. That's why you see sometimes you go, how did they lose to that team? Well, the matchup was more favorable even though their record, was worse than yours. And so that's what we're trying to do, and we're excited about DJ Moore and what he brings and the experience he's had in this league and the success he's had. And you can already see him and Josh starting to form that bond, here a couple practices into camp.
You mentioned Jim Leonard coming in on the defensive side of things. You signed Bradley Chubb. You drafted T.J. Parker pretty high in the draft. Last year we were consistently talking about the pass rush. It seems like it's an everyday conversation for every team in the league every single week. But
yeah.
How comfortable are you in having an effective pass rush this year?
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's what gets paid after a quarterback. We know the quarterback's the premium position, in all sports, but definitely in football. The next highest numbers getting paid are the pass rushers, whether they're interior or outside guys. So the reason is because they can affect the game. They're trying to affect the other team's quarterback. And if you're going to win the big games down the stretch, you have to be able to affect, those big-time quarterbacks that you're going to face, the gauntlet of quarterbacks in the AFC that you're going to have to run through if you want to, advance to the Super Bowl. And so we like the crew we have. Obviously, this is a new defense, going from a 4-3 to a 3-4. You mentioned some guys, Bradley Chubb, who's played in both and has had good success in a 3-4 defense. Adding a T.J. Parker, love the camaraderie those two have had. And then, Greg Rousseau's, been in the 4-3 for us. It's a little bit of a transition for him in the 3-4. But we feel like we've got some guys, a Deion Walker, that can play some versatile roles for us there, T.J. Sanders that we drafted a year ago. And hopefully, this gives Ed Oliver some more opportunities for a one-on-one. So we're excited about what it is. This thing's coming together. Not everything, as I was telling the media yesterday, will be perfect when you're switching from a defense like this. It's not necessarily a small change, but I love what Jim's done. I love Jim's mindset. And, it's been fun to watch him and Joe already kind of going against each other in practice, just the various ways, because it's competitive, and that's the way, iron sharpens iron, and that's what we want it to be.
Yeah, we love it. It's great to have everyone back in camp, and it'll be August this weekend, September before you know it, and the real stuff's going to get cooking. So we're looking forward to that, and we always appreciate you finding time for us. Thank you, Brandon.
Sounds good, guys. Always good to talk to you.
You got it. Brandon Beane, the president of football ops and the GM of the Buffalo Bills. And, this time of the counter, everyone's feeling healthy and happy and optimistic. And, football in particular allows for that. Like, you can really change a lot year over year. But, I think the Bills, from a regular season standpoint, they'd obviously prefer to win the division, sure, and host a playoff game, especially with a new stadium. But they just want to get to the playoffs. They're one of those teams. Get to the playoffs, be healthy. But there is a lot of change. You got a new head coach. You got a new defensive coordinator. You mentioned they've historically been a 4-3 defense. Now they're going to a 3-4. That's changed. It's going to look and feel a little bit different. You got to get after the quarterback. It's always a debate. You cannot be an elite defense unless you have guys who are rushing the passer. And that's going to be a big part of what Jim Leonard's going to have to do this year. And you look at the odds doing the AFC East, courtesy of FanDuel. They got Buffalo as -130, and the Pats +130, and then the Jets and Miami are way behind now. Like, it's clearly a two-horse race in that division.
They're the favorite, I think, to come out of the AFC right now.
As of now, to win the Super Bowl, it's the Bills.
Where would they be for you?
Out of the AFC?
Just AFC. Like, are you putting them ahead of the Chargers?
I'm not sure I'm putting them ahead of Denver. I'd put them still ahead of LA.
Okay.
The Chargers, they had a really good year, but and again, Bo Nix, I don't know. He's still a young quarterback. He's still got to prove that he can do it again. I wouldn't have many teams ahead of the Bills.
No.
Like, I know that the turnover, and it's interesting what he said about DJ Moore. Like, he doesn't know if he's in true number one. So it's still likely going to be a receiving core by committee. But they paid a premium to get him. You paid a lot, in terms of resources to get DJ Moore. He's got to help. But if you have Allen, Cook, a good offensive line, they're going to put up points.
But they've always put up points.
They've always put
to
up
his
points.
point.
And they will. I have no doubt that they will. The question is, can they explode when they really have to? Like, can DJ Moore make a big play at a big moment in a playoff game? We'll find that out. But I think they're going to be a really good team.
But you didn't say. So who are you picking? Like, if you had to pick today, the AFC representative in the Super Bowl will be who?
I'm going to say...
I think you want.
I want to say
Denver.
Buffalo. I want to believe in Buffalo, but I was going to say Denver.
Yeah.
They have such a good defense.
Mm-hmm.
Now they got Jalen Waddle there. Like, Nick's was really good. Peyton's such a good coach. I think Denver deserves to be probably at the top. Like, they were the number one seed.
Yeah.
Knicks gets hurt in that championship game. The weather's crazy. I think they probably win that game most days.
Agree.
So I think I understand. I would maybe go Denver one, but Buffalo would be in my top three, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some really good teams in the AFC. Really good teams. All right, Best Bets coming up. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Red Sox have been the hottest team in the league. I am going to parlay the Red Sox and your LA Dodgers tonight.
Oh, that's a good play.
I'm parlaying Dodgers.
They're in
money
Seattle
line.
or at home to Seattle?
They're at home to Seattle with the Sox, who are on the road in Miami. In Oakland. And or Sacramento, I guess. But I'm not overly concerned about either team that they're facing. So that parlay paying plus 45. There's your Best Bets. Powered by FanDuel. Same game parlays available for every MLB game on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly, 19 plus. Physically located in Ontario. Okay.
Do you think we get a Kawhi resolution in 2026 if you had to bet?
I think we will, yes. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean it won't lead to
like appealing
and
whatever,
stuff like that. But
yeah.
I think there has to be an announcement by Labor Day from the NBA. I think,
in theory,
yes. And if you're the Raptors, you need this to go through.
Oh my
God! And LA and the Clippers.
Everyone needs it.
Yeah. Why would the Clippers want Kawhi
the
coming
NBA
back in?
Needs it to go through.
Totally. Get him out of LA. Get him up here. Everyone wants him here. He'll be welcomed here. But they've got to appropriately punish here, because if it was that significant of a story and circumvention of cap, that's big, big trouble.
Yes.
Big trouble. All right. Will not this mic be fixed by the next time I'm on the air? That's the better question. I'll be back on Tuesday. I'm going to guess
not.
Probably not. All right. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web, up on YouTube Live. Streaming soon up on Crave. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.